Hey guys, GHAZZY TV here with another Path of Exile video, and I'm going to talk about 3.27 Keepers of the Flame State of Minions and what we can expect to happen. So I don't want to waste you guys' time too much. I'll try to go through it as fast as I can without, still being coherent. If you like this type of content, I always have to tell you guys to hit the subscribe button, like the video, comment, all that shit, because if I don't say it, you don't do it. So I appreciate the support. Thank you. Let's move on. So first and foremost, we had minion accuracy removed. All of the source of minion accuracy is gone. Some of them has been changed, like Grave Pact is now getting chaos resistance. Whether or not that's for us or the minions actually doesn't matter, because it's actually really good either way. But minion accuracy is no longer needed, similar to how it is in PoE 2. Fantastic change. We have some grafts. This is from the press kit stuff that we saw as well. This is the Muddled Undeath Summoning Tool Graft. And the skill is Great Avalanche. When you use an offering skill, this graft will summon an army of Hive-born Breach monsters to do your bidding. These summoned monsters have their physical damage converted to cold and have a chance to apply brittle on hit. Base duration is 10 seconds, which will be, affected by our minion duration stuff like enduring bond nodes and whatnot. And they have a maximum of 30 Hiveborns, and they summon 10 Hiveborns. Base duration is 4.5. Base radius is 4.5 meters. However, with duration up and whatnot, we can get them to last longer and get this over and over again. However, there's a few things to point out. First one is the cooldown is 18 seconds. That's part of it. The other part of it is that it specifically says when you use an offering skill. And in most cases in Path of Exile, where you're using a skill, you cannot trigger such skill for this to work. You have to actually use it yourself. And so my take is very simple when it comes to this one. A lot of people have been asking me about it. If you have to self-cast the offering skill, this will not be good. The benefits of it is probably going to look pretty dope, I'm not going to lie. But if you have to self-cast the offering, that means you're adding more things to do for the build. And one of the main things Minion Builds does to feel good to play is we go from having between 5 and 10 keybinds to minimize those by automating skills such as offering and desecrate. So one of the main things as you progress towards the end game with minion builds is actually to automate things like this. So if this requires you to self-cast it, I don't think we'll use it that much, because I don't think it's strong enough to be able to warrant self-casting it and making that annoying playstyle added to the game. However, I will point out that the good thing with this, whether or not they do good damage or not, matters very little. But what matters a lot is actually the brittle. Brittle makes it so that enemies have, basically when you hit them, the hits have an increased base critical strike chance. So brittle is an extremely valuable modifier. And if you can make them do good amount of percent of brittle, then this can be a ridiculously good powerhouse for damage output for basically most minion builds. But most importantly, they are available to scale something that goes beyond the idea of scaling poison damage, because poison doesn't do very well with crits, because most of the damage is dot based and not your hit based. So I think that something like this could be really cool when it comes to like Forge, Frostbearer, Spectre builds and whatnot. So I think this could be pretty fun to do, and maybe I'll even warrant actually self-casting Desecrates for those builds, especially if they are melee attacking minions, if you have Forge Frostbearers, which are ranged minions. So if you can keep them alive and whatnot, maybe I'll do something like that. I think that could be a fun thing to do. I might even league start it instead of Poison Animate Weapon, but that's kind of how I feel like right now. On the other hand, on the state of minions, I do feel like the top shift of like the most popular demand playing minion builds, as Bama, Blink Arrow, Mirror Arrow, got completely gutted. I think that the top popular builds for minions is probably going to end up being Poison Range Enemy Weapons or Spectres. I think that's like the tippity top of the mountain that I believe is going to happen in terms of popularity. I don't think Spectres are necessarily the best, but they are the ones that is the most comfortable to play. And I will definitely be playing it myself. Either I start that or I play Poison Range Animate Weapon, which I think is the better or the best version of Poison minion builds in the game at the moment. And I think that underneath those two builds, you'll find builds like Poison Holy Relic, Poison Sue, Poison SRS, Poison, 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 poison. So basically any poison builds outside of Poison Animate Weapon, you'll find underneath there. And you'll also see builds like the cheerleader support minion builds with DB. You'll see Warcry Chieftain builds, which is probably just underneath that. And then you'll basically just find the rest of the minion builds underneath those in terms of tier listing and popular demand, I would assume. So that's my current take of what I think is going to happen in the community. I think Spectres are just such a popular build and fun to play, comfortable to play, that they're going to be there, even though they have a slight less performance compared to something like Poison Enemy Weapon. I think that they're popular enough to be up there for sure. And I'm very much excited to do that. I'll probably play both of those things. However, due to the state of these builds, the way they are, and the lack of, let's call it somewhat disappointing or underwhelming patch notes, I think that the general take is that the shift of meta for minion builds in general for 327 is not really changing that much. Maybe this will see some shifts when we see the bloodline stuff. But keep in mind, to access the bloodline stuff, you have to kill an endgame pinnacle boss fight to get access to those. So that's like an endgame thing. So that means that the prior state of that is like, no, there's like no changes. The only thing that happened is blink arrow, mirror arrow is taken out of the equation, which ends up in a position where, well, we might play around with this for Spectre builds, but we won't use this on a poison build. No, fuck no. And I don't think there's going to be many changes. So in terms of like playable, or rather high performing, or rather expected high performing builds, not much is happening for the minion builds. And I think that that's the case for non-minion builds as well, but this video is about minion build. So avoid ranting here and wasting your time. I'm sorry about that. I do think that the diversity of builds now versus what we had in 326, that's not going to change much. So that's kind of what I'm expecting, at least. Hopefully this will change with the information we'll see before the launch. Maybe Bloodlines will make some changes to this, but I'm again expecting P-Raw up there, Spectres up there, and followed by any other poison combination of minion builds you can think of. Cheerleader, Warcry Chieftain. So the build guys you'll see from my end, obviously I'll be doing heavy focus on leveling builds. I'll be focusing on that a lot. I'll make a recording of my entire campaign playthrough for you guys. I'll upload that on YouTube on launch day. So leveling guys, absolute heavy focus on that. I'll update the Spectre build guide. I'll update the Warcry Chieftain build guide. I'll update the Cheerleader on Warcry Chieftain, Spectre, and those are like the three main builds I'll be focusing on. And taking it from there, I'll very likely do some video recording guide of some sort for the poison range animate weapon, should I decide to play that, which is very likely. That's kind of like the plan I have in terms of guides right now for builds. And then hopefully we'll see some bloodline stuff we can play around with. I do have some other ideas I want to humor on stream prior to launch, but that's what you can expect in this channel when it comes to build guides leading in, because there's not much that's changed compared to the past. And I think that those will be like the top ends with the changes that we've seen so far. Yeah, I don't really have anything else to add. I'm trying my best not to waste your time. So hit the like button, subscribe for more content, and leave a comment down below in the comments what you think of the changes. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Till then, stay safe. Keep rocking.